Welcome, everybody. Unfortunately, I am still sick. Whew. I feel like I got hit by a bus. Hence my frizzy hair. Don't care. I don't. I feel like crap. I feel like I was hit by a bus this morning. I kid you not. Brian Walshe's competency hearing. I literally just got word as the intro was playing that it's been put off till 11 in the morning. For the love of God. Um, but there's a couple other things anyway I wanted to talk about before that I didn't think I was going to have time to. Um, but that has been put off, so I guess we'll have to wait on that. At least for now, I have the, the stream here to play as soon as it starts. If it starts before then, it starts before then. But I have it nonetheless right here on the other screen, so I can pop it onto our screen at any point. So it's unfortunate that they've put this thing off a million times, but what I'm guessing is transportation. And that's why it's put off till 11, because a lot of the times at Bridgewater, it's chaos and traffic will make it later. And you're not just dropping off one person. Usually they load up a few people to take to court and sort of take a route, right? You stop at this place, until they get to Mr. Walshe. And I'm guessing the traffic and the dropping off other people pushed it off. Knowing Bridgewater, I worked there long enough to know. I feel like I got hit by a bus. Literally. I feel like I got hit by a bus and then the bus backed up and ran me over again. And then the bus went forward and hit me again. And then I fell into the manhole and the alligators that aren't in the sewers were in the sewers and then they ate me. And that's what I feel like. A bag of smashed ass is what I feel like. If you could think of what a bag of smashed ass would feel like, that is what I feel like. Being hit by a Mack truck times 100. I didn't have coffee yesterday. That's how sick I was yesterday. Because I didn't have coffee yesterday. My husband so kindly bought me this coffee this morning as a surprise, and I hope you feel better. So I appreciate him for that, because we really don't have the money to spend, which is why I haven't really been buying it. And I've been trying to do my hot coffee. Oh, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate you. I feel like bag of smashed assholes, but I appreciate you nonetheless. So I got a couple things to say about some stuff that happened last night. And again, I was sick yesterday, so I went to bed super early, probably before even 9. I was, in bed. Thankfully, it was my husband's day off. And so he took good care of me in the house and he made dinner and I just rested. And my body I'm on a new med too. And I think my body is just telling me, like, hey, you're always going, time to like slow. And I'm like, no, body, stop talking shit. I don't have time for this. I don't have time, body, for you to be telling me I need to slow down because Thanksgiving is coming, 3 kids' birthdays are coming, screw mine, it's going to get skipped again. And then Christmas, right? So, I can't be sick. I have to push through it. I don't have a choice. I can't afford to be sick, right? I don't think anybody really at this point can afford to be sick. I do. My husband is a great guy. He takes good care of me. He works his ass off, and I think, if he was a millionaire, we'd be all set. But our car dying in the end of 2023 really screwed us, like really badly, like really, really badly. And when our car died the way it did, we haven't had one since. And so he's had to take jobs that are within, an area that he can get to without spending $1 million a day, Ubers or Lyfts. And so it's been difficult because if we had a car, he could be making like 2 to 3 times what he makes now. So that's difficult, and he doesn't make a ton right now. So it's like, and they're capped at how much they can drive, like legally. He works for a logistics company. And so, he can only drive 50 hours a week legally. And so he can't, they only have like certain times where they're allowed to do 60. And then you have to have like 52 hours or 42 hours or something in between those if you take the 6th, right? And there's like very strict, stuff surrounding how long that these guys can drive. They can only drive 10 hours per day. That's it. They can't drive more than that unless there's extenuating circumstances of weather that you didn't know about ahead of time. So if you knew the weather 3 days ago was going to be bad and rainy, the company has to account for that, unfortunately. And so it sucks because he can only work so many hours legally because he can only drive so many hours legally. And so, he's someone who used to work 6-7 days a week. And now he's sort of capped at 40-50 right now until they get into peak season. And even when they get into peak season, which will be closer to Thanksgiving, then they can do a fifth day or sixth day. But they're only allowed to do so many. And so it's like where everybody else might be able to ask for endless amounts of overtime to make more money, he can't because he is legally capped at driving a certain amount by federal and state law. Oh, thank you. I will check it, Christina. Oh, girl, I feel you, Emily. Okay, I feel you. So all 3 of my kids' birthdays are in the next month. So my youngest is next Friday. My birthday is the Friday after that. 3 days after that is my oldest, who's December 1st. And my middle is December 10th. So F me, okay? F me sideways. It sucks. Then Christmas, right? Just 15 days after my middle's birthday. So I have to do, I don't do a birthday party for my oldest because she's older. She's also my terminally ill sick one. But we still celebrate, whether it's birthday dinner or whatever she wants to do. You know what I mean? Whatever she wants to do. My middle has birthday parties, but not like parties, like little kids, more like going out with their friends, like a certain amount of friends, and we'll go here, or here. You know what I mean? So it's not the same as a birthday party, but it still costs money. And my little is a birthday party. I got to get like forks and like plastic forks and spoons and stuff for hers. Very small things I still have to get for hers. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that about the winter because we can't have any outdoor birthday parties because they're all in the winter time, which is, I used to hate that as a kid because my birthday is in the winter time and my birthday falls on Thanksgiving every 4 to 6 years. So I used to hate that. Hate it. My birthday was on Thanksgiving last year. It was a nightmare. I hated it. It was awful. So this year it's on Black Friday, which is even more like, it's better than being on Thanksgiving because everything's closed. You can't even do anything, even if you wanted to. But Black Friday is, yeah, I have 3 girls too. I think God wants to punish me. It's like, you got 3 girls, go yourself. I got 3 girls. My middle is an angsty teen. So girl, listen, I feel you. I feel like a bag of smashed ass, hence why I wasn't here yesterday. And I'm just like, I need to push through it. I can't afford to be sick. I really can't. And this is an important hearing for the Brian Walshe stuff. For those of you who just got here, it was put off. I'm guessing transportation from Bridgewater because they drop off other people. And so I have the stream up on this screen over here, which is what I keep looking at, keep watching to see if it starts. It could start anywhere between now and 11, they said. But that's the word that I got. You have 4 girls. Oh my God. God bless your soul, my friend. God, I feel like I wish I could give you a hug because I feel your pain, my friend. All right. I feel it like deep within my soul. Let me see what Christina sent me because we got some stuff we got to talk about before then. Hold on a second, guys. Give me 1 second. I got a phone call. See, that's a good man right there. It's the hubby calling, reminding me to pay the rent. Our rent's due on the 15th. So I usually pay it like a day or 2 before the 15th, just because. Like, what, why wait until the day if you just get it out of the way? If you have it, just get it the hell out of the goddamn way. And then after that, I'm super broke, right? Because after rent, there is nothing fucking left. So I feel all of you that have their rent on the 15th like I do. It is a nightmare. because it's in the middle of the month, but that's when we moved in. So, you know, it should have been ready on the 1st and it wasn't. The apartment wasn't. So we had to wait until the 15th when we finally moved in last year. And so my rent happens to fall on the 15th, which is just super duper fun. All right. So, oh yeah, I was checking to see what Christina sent me. It was a clip. Christina, do you think you can send it to me in my email? Because I can't. Actually, maybe I can. Let me see. Nope, I can't. F. Crap. Damn it. I can't. Won't let me. Wait, more. Nope. Damn it. They only let me share to another. No, because Discord, I'd have to pull up the whole Discord to pull up the clip. You know what I mean? If it's my email, I can just click on it and it'll open like a whole nother window that I can show. You know what I mean? This one, it only lets me send to on Facebook, which is annoying. There's also something else, which I was really disgusted. Had something to say about the war, which really, it's like, dude, you're not a vet, okay? You're not a vet. If you have family members who are vets or in-laws who are vets, I'm sure that you found his comments on war and vets to be completely out of touch and stupid. Thank you, girl. Completely ridiculous. Someone had a clip on X about it. And I'm like, what is wrong? I mean, we know what's wrong with him, but we also had a Karen Reed juror. Somebody is telling me that just discussing the order is not breaking the order. It is under that order. It specifically states it. So here's the thing. If there's a civil order, now in most states, civil orders turn into criminal if you break them, right? But that's, you know, every state is different in the way that they operate. But say, for instance, an order says that you cannot discuss X, Y, and Z. People are like, freedom of speech, judge can't do that. Yes, a judge can. A judge can restrict your rights in any way they want because you turned it into something criminal, and therefore they can restrict that. Oh, yeah, the love letter he sent. I forgot about that. Well, the juror, right? The foreman from the second trial. Hold on. I have to bring this up just because even people who are free Karen Reed should have a problem with some of the things this guy said. If you don't, then you're kind of not being honest, I feel like, right? The juror, this dude here, here's my biggest problem with it is that the guy wasn't honest. And this is what I feared in the very beginning of all of this, is that these jurors were not being honest about having heard of this case, right? Now, this juror here, it says, jury foreman says his mind was made up early. I didn't take one note. Now, that is a serious issue, right? Guy didn't take a single note. No one, and I mean no one, is going to remember by memory all the important timelines, dates, locations, anything like that to even try to put pieces of the puzzle together if you don't even take a single note as a juror. Like, that should be, I mean, this is why I feel like jurors need like juror training before they become jurors. I kid you not. Like, they should have juror training on what they should and shouldn't do. I mean, it's common sense you should take notes, especially in a trial. It's going to last 6 to 8 weeks. If you take no notes, there's no, and then, so here's the thing, right? It says, Karen Reed, jury foreman, says his mind was made up early. I didn't take one note. Well, that's a problem, right? That's a huge problem. A juror is not supposed to make up their mind early. They are not supposed to make up any mind at all until the very, very end, until you weigh everything. So this guy's basically saying that he made up his mind when the EMT couldn't remember whether John had a coat on or not. The problem that I have with that specific thing is that that was the first trial, not the second trial. The first trial is when they thought he had a coat on. So I'm confused. No, I mean, that's the thing. Why does that matter? They didn't remember the guy wasn't wearing a coat, so they cut everything off anyway, usually in the ambulance. So what? Because the EMT didn't remember that he had a coat. The EMT must be in on some vast conspiracy. I mean, that is what is asserted in this. And I'm like, come on. You know, clearly his plan. So he admits, the juror here admits that he lied and told the court that he had no idea about this case when he did. It's unfortunate, but again, that's not something you're supposed to do because you swear, right? You swear that you're gonna, as a juror, tell the truth and not lie to get in to be a juror, you know? And he's also shopping books. I mean, if that doesn't tell you why he did it, I really don't know what to tell you. He didn't take notes. Yeah, but other people did. And that's great. But you definitely want to take your own notes, right? You don't want to just rely on other people's notes, because then you're relying on other people's interpretation of what you heard or saw. And you don't want to do that. You can't rely on someone else. That's why you're the juror, right? You can, you know, this is why when you take notes, you compare and contrast notes, right? You don't just want to fully rely on everyone else's, you know? I love you anyway. It's not about Karen herself. This is about the jury in general, like, and how a jury should operate, right? A jury is supposed to, like, you know, if they ask you, hey, have you ever heard of this case? You're not supposed to be like, nope, never heard of it, when you have heard of it, right? You're not supposed to do that. That's not how it's supposed to operate. That's a huge problem for me, because if you think about it, if I am the defendant, right? I want a jury that's honest and doing their job of, like, not making up their mind early on in my case, right? I don't want that. I don't want that if I'm the defendant. I need the jury to do what the jury's supposed to do, which is listen to all of the evidence, all of the pieces of the puzzle, not make their mind up right in the beginning and decide that notes don't matter at all because they can just rely on everyone else's. They're not allowed to share notes during trial. And there's, like, certain rules for inside, like, you can look through certain evidence. Yes, you can do that the court gives you. But if I'm the defendant, right, in a case, I want the jury to do what the jury's supposed to do. Because, say, for instance, I'm the defendant and a juror makes their mind up early on that I'm guilty. Well, guess what? That's a fucking huge problem, right? If that juror simply makes their mind up that I'm guilty very early on without taking notes, lying to get on the jury, and says, I think she's guilty because she said, you know, that they got into an argument. Well, that's not a juror that you're going to want on a jury, right? If they just make their mind up based on their own biases early on. And you can argue that she was found, you know, not guilty, but that doesn't mean that the juror operated in a way that he was supposed to, right? You can argue that the other jurors did. That's cool. That's great. But in this instance, with this one guy, some of the things he said are seriously concerning for juries in general, because it can go both ways. It can go guilty or not guilty. And say, for instance, you have someone on the Brian Walshe trial, the one that we're going to cover today, right? And a juror on that jury says, you know, I know about the case, but I'm going to lie to get on the jury. I'm going to say I don't know anything about it, right? Even though I do. And then when I get on the jury, I'm going to say he's not guilty because I know his mother's sister's dog's wife's husband's brother. Like, you know what I mean? And because he said because he was talking to someone early on and that witness said that he swore he didn't do it, my mind was made up right then and there. He didn't do it. And he gets off on something that we clearly can see this guy did, right? Because that one juror said, oh, I made my mind up early. Fuck it, I didn't need to take notes. And yeah, I lied to get on the jury. That's a problem, right? Like, that's a problem. If Brian Walshe walks free because somebody acts that way in a jury just so they can write a book or shop it or have, payments for appearances. I mean, this is a huge problem for juries in general. And I mean, this is also part of the problem with, I think, our laws catching up to social media or media in general. This is crazy. We can't have jurors that operate like this, because then we're going to have very large issues, right? He said he didn't have to take notes after the first witness. I was just like, okay, I see where this is going. Okay. He takes issue with investigators never entering the Ganton home. They had no reason to enter the home. None at all. You can't just enter someone's home and be like, there was somebody on your lawn, so now we have to enter your home. That's just not the way it works, especially when nobody saw him go inside. Oh, for the love of God. So, hold on. Let's see. And on Karen Reed's demeanor in court, he says it took him weeks to decode what he called a consistent snarl on her face. It was just a person that was fed up with everyone lying to her. I can disagree with him on that. So it says that he said if the state had used a lesser charge of manslaughter rather than murder, she could have been found guilty. Newsflash, manslaughter was an option. So this is kind of why I'm like, this is something I needed to talk about this morning, not just about this, Karen's case in general, just in any case, right? Because we can't have jurors that are not fucking paying attention, right? Manslaughter was an issue. Manslaughter was an option. It 100% was an option. They could have voted on manslaughter and not murder too. So for the guy to be like, well, if manslaughter was there and not murder too, then she would have been found guilty. Well, manslaughter was an option, right? You know what I mean? I'm like, is this real life? I'm so confused right now as to how the actual fuck, you know what I mean? Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Okay, see, that's the other part of the problem that I have, which is information that's just blatantly false, right? Jen McCabe did not text John 50 times before the crime. That never happened. I mean, there's phone records for that, like literal. It's like, well, that's the thing. That's what it sounds like to me, is the guy checked out immediately, right? Just imagine with me, even those of you who are free Karen Reed who watch my show, imagine with me, okay, that we have a juror that does exactly what this Karen Reed juror did in the Brian Walshe case. No one's going to see a problem with that. Of course we are, right? Of course we are. We're going to see a very serious issue with that, because it is an issue, right? Yeah, the misinformation, there's a lot of it too. And we can blame that on the sewer turtle, but there's a lot of it, at Gmail. It's Twisted Tragedies 3 at Gmail. Instead of tragedy, it's tragedies. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, because why be blocked? Because you know what I mean? If you're not being rude or a troll, then, I mean, listen, we have people who disagree all the time, but we can civilly disagree, and I love you all anyway, right? Like, I don't have to, it's like not being the same religion as someone or the same political party. Who cares? I love you all anyway, I love you all anyway. It doesn't matter, right? And I say, bear with me today, because I am still sick. I do feel like I was hit by a fucking bus, but I thought this competency hearing is important to cover today for the Brian Walshe case. And I can't fucking afford to be sick. I can't, right? And the sewer turtle, well, he's doing sewer turtle-y things, right? Sewer turtle-y things, like saying ridiculous, narcissistic, crazy, nutty things, I think it would have been a bigger issue if 11 others thought guilty. I think that's the thing, though. That's why I say, like, would it be an issue, right? Think about this. Would it be an issue if a juror in the Brian Walshe case did exactly what this Karen Reed juror did? You're not getting your notifications? What the hell, man? Make sure they're on all, and not, like, when you first subscribe to someone's channel, it doesn't, like, you have to go to the bell, and it and change it yourself to all notifications. Otherwise, it only gives some. And also, I do think that I should be setting my streams an hour ahead of time, an hour or more ahead of time, because then I think it gives like a second notification. But this one was quick this morning. I had to like make the I had to get my kid on the bus and then make the thumbnail and then make the description. And like, you know, just pressing the button and going live would be great and easy, but that's not the way it works. You know, we have things you got to do before you can go live. You have to make the title, the description, the thumbnail, and you got to put all that information in there. So it's unfortunate, but I have to do that. If you would like to donate to the channel, I haven't done this yet this morning, already 27 minutes in. Shame on me, but I'm tired and I don't feel good. And my brain is like DTD today. So just bear with me, guys. I have a little bit of a fever. I could feel it. That's why I'm in a tank top, in case y'all are wondering. It's because I am freaking sweating like a whore in church. All right. Yes, that's what I said. So, as a matter of fact, you know what? That just made me think of something that Scorpio got me that might help. That might help me. I don't want to put my little fan on. She got me this little fan and I love it. And that might help, but that noise might be too much. So I have something else that she kindly got me. Actually, two other things that might help. Okie dokie. Artichoke. This little guy here that Scorpio got me for the summertime when we didn't have AC. Definitely a help. So you fill water and it's got like, you can put your finger in it, right? You fill it with water. And then you sort of peel this part off, the top part, turn it. Now you got an ice globe, a little ice globe that will literally cool you off almost instantly if you just rub it on your neck or your wrists. And oh my God, that feels so good. Whew. And then you can just put it down because it's just one big ice cube. I love it. And I have it in the freezer because, yeah, my heat apparently shuts off if I go below 70, which makes no sense. I put my heat on like 67 and it will not go on. It will not kick on until it's at 70. So I don't understand. Nonetheless, let me get back to this. So if you would like to donate to the channel's had a rough 2 weeks. We definitely can use the support if you guys can. We have a bunch of different ways you can do so. We have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut. We have a link for debit and credit. We have an Amazon wish list. That's in the description of the video. We have Super Chat, Super Stickers, memberships. We have all that stuff. Memberships for yourself, and you can buy them for other people, which is always fun and nice. And we appreciate it. It keeps me cool. It does. This is why I love it. And I love you. This helps so much. I'm telling you, especially when you're sick or don't feel good. I gave it to my daughter when she was sick and it was like her saving grace. You know, it cools you down instantly. That cold on your neck is just like, whew, instantly. All right. So let's see. Let me see if I can. Why didn't it pop up when I just did that? Hold on. My brain today. I apologize. I feel like a bag of smashed ass, so my brain is like, I knew I felt the sickness coming on. I literally felt it. I was like, I'm getting sick. I could feel it like right here in my face. Okay. What is happening? My point is can you imagine, right? If a juror in the Brian Walshe case did what this guy did, I think a lot of people would have an issue with it, right? A very large issue with it. And, you know, one of these articles, I think it's this one right here. Let me see. This article. Hold on. No. Share screen. This one.
Event at Fisher College, Charlie DeLoach says no one was more surprised than he was when he was chosen to sit on the Karen Reed jury.
You knew a little bit about the case going in, but you kind of played dumb because you didn't want to get picked. And did that serve you?
You
or
know
did
you're
that
going to get
serve,
picked for that. That's ridiculous.
The prosecution and defense.
Something like you don't know.
It backfired on me.
Clearly means
I was the
you're going to
first
get
one
picked. Come on.
DeLoach described growing up in Boston public housing during the 80s and 90s and says he was
That guy's
often
not dumb.
stopped
He knows
and
if you say you
harassed
don't know
by
the
police.
case, you're going to
In
be.
the height of like the Charles Stewart case, it was scary because they was targeting black men.
DeLoach told students he found the prosecution's
basically,
case
it
against
says he was
Reed
like,
fishy as soon as the first witness took the stand, an EMT who couldn't remember
bias.
if John O'Keefe was found with a coat on.
I didn't take one note. I didn't have to after the first witness. It was just like, oh, okay. I see where this is going.
DeLoach stands by his not guilty verdict and remains convinced someone other than Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe, but he also says the outcome of the trial might have been different if Reed had only been charged with manslaughter.
Would it
Manslaughter
have
was
been
an
more
option.
likely that she would have been found guilty?
Yes, yeah. Because then she would have not felt like it was she could overcome that. Or
And some of the jurors might have been more swayed
exactly
toward that. You
because it
know,
was a lesser of a charge than murder and stuff. So.
Now, Charlie DeLoach says he has not received any money for this case since the trial ended back in
He's
June.
shopping a book, though.
He says he is speaking out now because he wants the case further investigated.
Yesterday.
Live at the Back Bay, David.
Yesterday, this interview was yesterday. He's in one of these articles. It says he's shopping a book. And this guy says that he says he's received no money, but this is the same juror, I think, that we found out was paid. Oh God, was it court TV? I can't remember what channel it was, but did some paid interview. It was like one of the first jurors to say something or something way back when. He's the foreman from the second trial. The foreman from the first trial is a former cop. And he says the outcome would have been different if the charges had been different. If it had been manslaughter, she probably would have been found guilty, which is like, but then you say she's innocent. So that doesn't really jive. He's kind of saying to TMZ. Thank you. That's what it was. TMZ. Manslaughter was an option. Manslaughter was an option. So it's like, was he even paying attention at all? You know? And so the guy's like, you knew a little bit about the case, but going in, you kind of played dumb because you didn't want to get picked. Who would play dumb if they didn't want to get picked? I mean, it's would be pretty simple to say if you know about the case, they're probably not going to want you because of a bias, right? So you play stupid and say you don't know anything about the case when you do. That's called lying. You take an oath when you're answering those questions that you're not going to lie. The guy lied. He admitted he lied. I mean, then it says he described growing up in Boston public housing during the 80s and 90s and said he was often stopped and harassed by police. So that's a bias, right? A preconceived, I hate cops bias. That you're supposed to put aside, right? I'm not a huge fan of cops myself, right? But at the same time, I know if I'm in a trial that I have to take that aside and apart and say, all right, I might not have had great interactions with some of them, but I've also had good interactions with some of them, right? And so they're not all the same. They're not all one. One bad apple can ruin the bunch, but not the whole bunch are bad, you know? Even if half the bunch are bad, doesn't mean all the bunch is bad, you know? And then it says, he thought the case against Reed was fishy from day one of the trial when the first witness took the stand, an EMT who couldn't remember if John was found with a coat on. You're asking these EMTs, okay? Now, again, if you think about this, these EMTs deal with multiple patients a shift, probably dozens, or at least a dozen, right? You're asking them to remember 2, 3, 4 years ago, whether someone was wearing a coat or not. That is what you find fishy. Of all of the things that you could have claimed was fishy, the one thing you find fishy is an EMT who had nothing to do with anything and didn't know anyone related to this case, didn't have a coat on. I mean, that's just weird to me, right? It doesn't stand up to any sort of common sense or credible I mean, that's the one thing you find fishy is that an EMT who works with patients every day, that cuts their clothes off every day, right? You find it fishy he can't remember if John was wearing a coat or not. I mean, so you decided not to take notes because of that. That's what I'm saying. Like, why would the focus be whether he had a coat or not? He's trying to save his life. That's what EMTs do. Most of the time, they cut the clothes off anyway, especially if somebody's in cardiac. They're going to cut the clothes off. They're going to try the paddles. They're not paddles anymore now. They're just little things, but you know what I'm saying. But they're going to do that. Then they're going to do, CPR by hand. And it's like, that's what you find fishy of all things on planet Earth. It just doesn't sit right. You know what I mean? And he's like proud. I didn't take one note. I didn't have to. I don't know. He says he remains convinced someone other than Karen killed John O'Keefe and stands by his not guilty verdicts. However, when asked what would have happened if Reed had been charged only with manslaughter and not second-degree murder, he admits the verdict might have been different. Again, that doesn't make sense. Would it have been more likely that she would have been found guilty? Sherman asked. Yes, yeah, she would have not felt like she could overcome that, Deloach said, and some of the jurors might have swayed more swayed towards that. Well, manslaughter was an option. Yeah, and as far as I understand, the code thing was in the first trial, not the second trial. That came up in the first trial, right? The guy didn't remember in the first trial whether I said that, early on in the stream, which is, I'm pretty sure the code thing happened in the first trial, not the second trial. Why is this guy even talking about the first trial? See, that's the problem, right? That couldn't have been your thinking during juror deliberations, right? If you didn't know anything about the case, but you lied to get on the jury. If someone lies to get onto the Brian Walshe jury, right, and makes their mind up that he's not guilty based on something they saw previous to this, right, in a filing that the state made, right, and says, oh, well, that seems suspicious to me, so I'm going to lie. I'm going to get on the jury. I'm going to say I don't know anything about the case. I'm going to get on the jury, right? And once I'm on that jury, I'm going to listen to what a witness or two or three says. And by the third witness, something that the state asked about, I found fishy. So I think he's not guilty. And I just didn't take any notes after that. What? Can you imagine what would happen if Brian Walshe is set free in this world simply because a juror did something like that? I mean, catastrophic. The guy's a psychopath. In my opinion, Brian Walshe is extremely guilty, right? That's my opinion on that case based on all of the evidence that has come out thus far, right? It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Right. I've met some that I grew up with are cops, and there some that I grew up with ended up criminals. I mean, it happens, right? There's good cops, there's bad cops, there's bad doctors, good therapists, bad therapists, good lawyers, bad lawyers. Like Maui's right. Bad teachers, bad nurses, good teachers. Like there's a bunch in all. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. He had like the hooded like sweatshirt shirt. I have a couple of those myself. So it's like half sweatshirt, half shirt with a hood, but it's, a little warmer than just like a regular shirt. But still, like somebody could say that's a coat of sorts, I mean, but the coat thing was in the first trial. That was a thing in the first trial. It wasn't the second trial. So like, that's a huge concern that I had reading that. The other thing to me is him saying that if, manslaughter was an option, people would have probably found her guilty. It was an option. You know what I mean? It was. It was. And then in another one of these articles, it says, but he's shopping around a book. The juror is shopping around a book. I mean, I don't know what kind of book you could shop around if you didn't take any notes and you basically didn't really pay much. I mean, it makes me afraid. It literally makes me afraid that this is going to happen in the Brian Walshe case, simply because people want to get onto the jury. They want to be recognized. They want to do interviews. They want to sell a book. They want to, they want the fame, fortune, and glory in it. What happens if it happens in this case? What happens if it happens in this Brian Walshe case and someone does the same thing? You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe the car hit him, slightly tapped him. Well, I mean, what? That's, we can all, we all know what my stance is on the case. It's not going to change, right? And it's just like, I don't understand how do these people feel good about lying to get on a jury? That is a huge problem. If we have people who lie to get onto this Brian Walshe jury, that's going to be an issue, right? I mean, can you imagine if people lied to get on the Brian Koberger, some of those pro-burger people, if they, lied to get onto that jury, and maybe that's why they took a deal there, and I don't necessarily agree with the deal being made in the Koberger case. But maybe that's why, right? They didn't want to risk people lying to get on a jury and playing games. But we have to do, like, we can't just keep ignoring that it's causing that, not like, okay, so double jeopardy, you can't be charged twice with the same crime, right? But what happens when it's not a fair trial, right? What happens when people lie to get onto a jury? That's not a fair trial, in my opinion. Morning, Holly. It's not, right? If people are lying to get onto a jury, they have preconceived biases. They're already lying to get onto the jury. I mean, that wouldn't be a fair trial, in my opinion. We as a country need to get our act together and get our laws, procedures with criminal cases, in line with the times of the digital age, right? We have ways to, keep a jury away from that stuff, and we don't use it, right? Back in the day, it was to keep jurors away from like newspaper articles about it, right? And the news, right? On the TV. Now it's social media, right? It's a huge problem, but we oftentimes don't use it. Judges do not like using sequestering the jury, but there needs to be instances where they are using that option. And I get it. Judges feel like it's restricting people's rights. Well, they can choose to say it's a hardship for them to be, on the jury then, that they can choose that. They can. They can say it's a hardship, and say, wait, can't be in. Either because they have kids or their children's schools need to get in touch, whatever. Or maybe we need to start investing in flip phones that don't go online, that we give jurors that they are only allowed to use. I don't know. Something needs to give, though, because we can't say, okay, the jury is sequestered and then leave it up to the honor system for people to not do it. That's not going to work, right? And judges are just not sequestering juries anymore. They just don't like doing it. And sequestration is an option for a reason, for a fair trial. If it should have been used in any case, I feel like the Brian Walshe case is a good one where it should be used. Karen's case was a good one where it should have been used. I think the Koberger case is one where it should have been used. Obviously, that one came to an end with a plea, but these are high-profile cases that should be sequestered juries. You know what I mean? For a damn good reason, Hold on a second, guys. Right. Exactly. Just beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean that you need every piece of everything and it needs to be all on tape so you can see it. That's not the way it works. Beyond a reasonable doubt isn't every tiny little doubt either. Like, oh, well, it could have been X, Y, and Z. It's using common sense. And I think that it needs to be defined more clearly. I think Jimbo's right. I think beyond a reasonable doubt should be defined clearly for the jury and for Americans, to understand what it means, because they sort of leave it up to each state to interpret to the jury what it means. But in reality, we should be interpreting for them exactly what it means and what it doesn't mean, right? So that juries have a clear understanding of what is and what isn't. Any doubt is not beyond reasonable doubt, right? You could put doubt in anything. You could have it on video and then it'd be a grainy video and be like, but that could be someone else. It definitely looks like him, walks like him, talks like him, is wearing his same clothes he's seen later on in that day, but it could be someone else. I mean, come on. That's cray-cray, Exactly. It isn't all doubt, It is important that the state has the burden, but I think our laws have not caught up. They have not caught up with social media use and all the things that social media can do when it comes to cases, and not do for that matter. I mean, we have a lot of misinformation that surrounds a lot of trials that's still out there floating around, that people are still repeating to other people that they believe is accurate and true that isn't, right? One of the more pushed theories in the Reed case from the beginning was that the taillight was on top of the snow. Why? Well, the sewer turtle was telling people the taillight was on top of the snow. Before the videos had been released, that's what he told people, right? He told people, and we all know that he got his information straight from Karen, right? He was telling people the taillight was on top of the snow. So it had to have been sprinkled there by Proctor, right? Because it was on top of the snow. Come to find out, there's video of them uncovering the goddamn taillight. It was not on top of the snow, and Proctor was never at the scene, so he couldn't have sprinkled taillight. It's not Doctor Who, right? There was no time machine. He wasn't even at the goddamn scene. So, you know what I'm saying? That people are still repeating that lie. One that Karen Reed herself fixed was, where's all the blood? People still say that. Where was all the blood? Where is this? Karen herself went on Facebook and said, I don't know where people went, kept getting that from. There was a ton of blood. I was covered in his blood. So, but she does know where it came from, because that is something that the sewer turtle pushed. Where's all the blood? Where's all the blood? Where's all the blood? Karen herself fixed that rumor. She also then fixed the rumor that Colin Albert had anything to do with selling drugs or had any issue with John. She herself did an interview where she tells the world John and Colin had no problem, and Colin did not sell drugs, nor was he reported for selling drugs. That never happened. So those are all rumors. There was just a few, but those are all rumors and misinformation, that two of which Karen Reed herself corrected, right? That I had been correcting long before that, before she ever said a peep, but that people are still repeating to this day. Now, do you think that if people thought that there was taillight on top of the snow and there was no blood where there should have been blood, that would automatically lead them to believe something shady was happening, right? And so now they're going to find shade in anything. Now everything's shady, right? But what would have happened had they realized that the taillight was not found right away? Had they realized that, no, the taillight was not on top of the snow. Proctor wasn't at the scene, so he couldn't have sprinkled it. And Colin had no bad blood with John whatsoever. Would that have, if people had found out right away that those things were not true, they would have had to start questioning where the information was coming from. If multiple things that they were learning and were told were true, were not. Yeah, no, Colin didn't throw anything on John's lawn. That was a completely different kid. I think it was Colin's little brother who was walking through the lawn. The beer cans was a completely different kid that lived on the block or something like that. That was a completely different kid. Had nothing to do with anybody involved in this case at all. It was Colin's brother that walked through the yard. That was it. He was cutting through the yard to get home from school. And often hidden pieces, jury consultants. Yeah. I mean, there's so many, I feel like, pieces that it just makes me think of the horrifying things that could happen here, right here in this Walshe case, in the Brian Walshe case. What happens if a juror, John bought him candy because he made a joke to the kid, like, get off my lawn, kid. That's why and he got upset. And so John was like, felt so bad and brought over, like asked Chris what his favorite candy was and brought over his favorite candy because he was just messing with him, you know? Yeah, the missing belt and the missing hat and the missing shoe that Melanie Little went on and on and on about, that was never missing. You know what I mean? Like all of these things that were fed to people that were not true, or that the clothes sat in the back, here, that one still, the back of the cruiser for weeks. They did not. They were entered into evidence the same day. I mean, again, people aren't going to go look for the correct answer though either. And that's half the problem, which is if people want to believe something, they're gonna. But I do believe that if it weren't for a lot of people pushing things that were just not true, right, that a lot of this anger and misplaced rage and shit like that might not have happened, right? There is something up and coming that you should all keep a peep on the news about very shortly when it comes to this case in general, the Karen Reed case. And that's the only hint I can really give you guys at this point, which is just keep an eye on the news. Oh crap. Hold on. Hold on a second. 13 minutes ago. So that's the other thing. This guy spoke at Fisher College, right? Saying that he didn't make any money. You went out of your way in your time to speak at Fisher College. You didn't get paid for your time or your gas or anything. Nothing. Me don't know about that. Me thinks that stinks. You know, I really, it makes me go back to the Brian Walshe case. What if jurors do the same thing here? Yeah, I mean, she wasn't really, that's a good point. You know, also, by the way, Jessica Leslie was finally sentenced for leaking the grand jury information. She got 2 years of supervised release and I think it's 3 months of home confinement. So the judge did not ultimately agree with the whole 1 day suspended sentence BS. So the FBI Boston put out a thing yesterday. I'll show you. Hold on. The U.S. Attorney's Office, I shall say. Where is it? Crap. I put it on my Twitter, but let me pull it up from there then. But the U.S. Attorney's Office, actually, I can just look up that. They put out a thing yesterday. A press release. U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts. Okay, let's see. News. Press releases. Press. Come on, man. Let's see. Here it is. November 13th. All right. I'll share this with you. Let me remove this real quick. So we're still waiting on that hearing to start, but it should be starting in the next half an hour. All right. So here's the press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts. Massachusetts woman who leaked federal grand jury information sentenced. This was yesterday. Defendant shared sealed information with a friend who then posted on social media. This is why you never share grand jury information. Okay? Never. Never. Yeah, that is not the norm. Definitely not, Barbara. I agree with you that it is not normal to serve on 3 or 4 juries within a few short years. It's definitely strange. It's not something normal for sure. Most people don't serve that many times in their entire life on a jury. Never mind in a couple of years. All right, let's see. So it says, a Drake masked woman was sentenced on October 2nd in federal court in Boston for disclosing information presented to a federal grand jury on unauthorized individuals. Jessica Leslie, 34, was sentenced by the U.S. District Court Judge Indra Talwani to 2 years of supervised release with 2 months to be served in home detention. In August 2025, Leslie pleaded guilty to 1 count of criminal contempt after being charged on July 11th, 2025. Beginning in May 2022, Leslie was sworn as a federal grand juror and was advised of the obligation of secrecy imposed by the federal rules. On various dates between August 11th, 2022 and March 4th, 2024, Leslie disclosed sealed information to unauthorized individuals. So that's more than one person, right? Thus far, they had just said her friend, but it says that she disclosed sealed information to unauthorized individuals, including the names of various witnesses appearing before a federal grand jury, the substance of witness testimony, and other evidence presented to the grand jury in violation of the federal rules and court order. Leslie talked explicitly about 2 matters in the grand jury to a friend, who then publicly posted about and engaged in private chats on those matters, sharing specific details passed on by Leslie. In one instance, the friend posted about a sealed indictment before the targets were arrested. U.S. State's Attorney Leah B. Foley and Ted E. Docks, special agent in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Boston, made the announcement. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ann Peruti, chief of the Major Crimes Unit, prosecuted the case. Updated November 13th, 2025. So, I mean, hey, don't share information from a federal grand jury that you're in. That's a no-no, guys. You cannot do that. Now, see, the reason why the friend wasn't in trouble is because the friend didn't take that oath. She did not take the oath to not say anything about the grand jury because she wasn't a grand juror, right? But at the same time, she then gave information to people like the sewer turtle. Admittedly, he admitted that. And then that was pushed out to the world. But it was pushed out in a narrative, which is normally what he does, right? His narratives. Let me see if I have anything yet in my email here to show you guys. It's a clip. I haven't seen the clip yet that Christina was trying to send me, so I'm not really sure the substance of it. We'll find out. That's why I put my email in chat, just so she had it. Oh, here it is. All right, let's see. See if we can get this clip up here for a second and see what was being said. Oh God, I feel like I was hit by a bus. My body is like so tired. All right, let's see. When was this? This is only 1 minute. All right, let's see. We're going to share this one. See what he said. No idea here.
Anyway, like there was an order saying that I can't talk about the order, basically. And I can't talk about the fact that Lindsay Stachini is weaponizing the courts and lying to the courts in order to obtain an order against me by pretending to be a victim. And I can't talk about the fact
pretend
that
to
she
be
is
a victim.
doing this. I can't talk about that.
Okay, first of all, nobody's pretending to be a victim. Cyber harassment is a thing. So either you cyber harassed her or you didn't. He thinks that all of the stuff before that, like, you know, anything that she said about Paul O'Keefe to him is magically going to help him in some way. The court doesn't give a shit what kind of relationship you had before this. They don't care. The court doesn't fucking care. The court cares whether you did what you're being accused of. Did you cyber harass her? Did you use her information to give to third parties, aka your subscribers, to harass someone? And you did. The answer is yes, you did. So, I mean, him like telling people, and again, I didn't watch this clip before. Christina just sent it to me, but this right here is what we call a narrative, folks. This is what we call a narrative. His narrative is he's the victim again, right? He's always the victim and everybody lies except him, which is absurd. The court doesn't give a shit about what happened before. They care about whether you broke the law and cyber harassed someone or not. I don't know why he seems to think that, but hey, let him. I don't care.
And I'm like, or it's an arrestable offense. But then I listened to the audio from the court, and the court officer clearly says that a problem with these VASPA orders, as they're known as, is you can't arrest people in other states for them.
Yes, you can.
So that's what they said. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, fuck it. And like, I just felt uncomfortable with not talking about it in the first place because it's unconstitutional. And like,
it's not
this. And then they
can restrict your rights
yesterday for another however many weeks. It's like, no, well, the temporary order is still in place, and I'm just not abiding by it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to not talk about an ongoing legal proceeding.
It's not an ongoing anything.
Who want to do this anyway? Like,
okay, so I'm gonna download this in case he tries to get rid of it, but we're gonna download this. I mean, how fucking stupid does one person have to be? So there's this thing called an interstate order, folks. An interstate order, right? And Massachusetts does have to go abide by an interstate order. So if New Jersey says, hey, this guy needs to be held, he's not abiding by a lawful legal order, the judge could send an order into Massachusetts, and Massachusetts would have to abide by it. It's not right. That's like saying someone who gets a restraining order or a harassment order on someone in Massachusetts who lives in California can't have it enforced. Interstate orders have to be recognized. It's an interstate order. It absolutely has to be recognized. It might take some bureaucratic red tape and some annoying things, but yes, ultimately the law is interstate orders are recognized. Sorry, not sorry. It is and it isn't. So because she was given the information by a grand juror, you really can't, I mean, the cops couldn't really charge, there's nothing that they could charge that person with. It is like, here's the problem with, and even with receiving stolen property, the courts have a real serious issue with prosecuting receiving stolen property because the person has to know that it's stolen property, right? If, for instance, someone gets you a Christmas gift and they stole it and they wrap it up and you open it, are the cops going to charge you with receiving stolen property? Probably not, because they'd have to prove that you knew it was stolen, right? Or a jury is not going to convict you of receiving stolen property because you didn't even know it was stolen, right? Sort of the same thing here, which is there's a reason why receiving stolen property isn't used a ton. And it's because it's hard to prove someone knew or didn't know whether it was stolen or not. And I mean, you know, technically speaking, you can still charge someone receiving stolen property even if they didn't know it was stolen, but a judge isn't going to, I mean, a jury's not going to find someone guilty if they didn't know. That's the bottom line. A jury is not going to say this person had no idea it was even stolen, so why are we ruining their life with a charge of receiving stolen property if they had no clue it was even stolen? A jury's just not going to find someone guilty of receiving stolen property if they had no fucking clue, right? And that's why they just don't even use that charge a lot. It would be the same sort of around the same thing here, which is a grand juror leaked information to a friend of hers. The grand juror is the one that took the oath not to give the information. The friend can in turn receive the information, right? And talk about it. But what are they going to charge her with? She's not in contempt of the court because she's not the one who took the oath to receive they can't charge her with receiving secret information. You know what I mean? What are you really going to, there's nothing they can really charge her with, the friend, you know? Now, if it went further and they could prove that the grand juror used it as a way to give to the friend for the friend to make sure that the friend gave it to the sewer turtle so that it was a conspiracy to harass witnesses, then that goes a little further, right? And then that could have some legal implications of some criminal charges. That's a possibility. But you'd have to be able to prove that the intent of Jessica Leslie was to get the information to the sewer turtle through a third party on purpose. And so the intent is where it would be hard to prove. And again, we don't know what the FBI knows or doesn't know. And we don't know how far they've gone in their investigations when it comes to some of this stuff. We have no clue. What we do know is that they're watching, they're looking at it. And if it wasn't of interest to them, they wouldn't have. How many people do you know ever get charged with it, even if they share information about a federal grand jury? Well, not many, because it doesn't usually result in the sort of social media firestorm we saw in this case, right? I think because it did, and it had ramifications for people's real lives, this is why the FBI took an interest in it. But if they took an interest in that, what else are they taking an interest in? That's the question people should be asking. What else would they be taking an interest in? Now, again, this hearing should be starting in the next 20 minutes. As long as Mr. Walshe is in the court now. But there was a lot of things that happened over the last 2 days. Hold on. And there's other things happening. Let me see. Trying to see. I just say keep an eye. Keep an eye on the news when it comes to things that surround this case and people in this case, because it's far from the last thing we're going to see when it comes to it. I think there's quite a bit sort of legal liability surrounding a lot of the harassment that happened. And again, I'm really afraid for this Walshe case. What if we have jurors that lie to get on the jury here? That's a serious concern. What if we have jurors that decide they made up their mind after the second witness and they never take any notes and they don't? I mean, that's a serious concern. Just lying to get on a jury tells me everything I really need to know. If you're willing to lie to get onto the jury, you can say whatever you want afterwards, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard someone say is, oh yeah, I lied and said that I didn't know anything about the case when I did, so they wouldn't pick me. That defies common sense. If you don't know anything about the case, of course, they're going to want you. They're not going to want someone who knows something about the case because it's a preconceived bias. So it's my opinion. I just don't believe the guy when he sits there and says, oh, it backfired on me and they picked me. Well, you just admitted that you lied, right? I mean, that's a big no-no. You don't lie to get on or out of a jury. You tell the truth. If you had a preconceived, admits he has this preconceived bias of the police, I'm going to guarantee that's not something that he told them when he was being picked for jury. It's the reality. It's unfortunate. I think we got a real serious issue where people think it's okay to do this shit. It's not. I could never imagine lying to get onto a jury just for interviews or books or 5 minutes of fame, or because I thought something was fishy. The fact that he talks about he didn't need to take any more notes after the first witness, the coat thing was in the first trial. He's a juror of the second trial. So if he says that it's because the EMT couldn't remember that he was wearing a coat, then that's not true. If it was only talked about if it was only an issue in the first trial, if it was not even an issue in the second trial, then he's not being honest again. Right? And if he's not being honest about that, and he wasn't being honest about getting on the jury, what else is the guy not being honest about? That's the problem that I have. And how does that apply to other cases? How would that apply to the Brian Walshe case? How would that apply to the Lindsay Clancy case? How would that apply to the Corey Richins case? How would that apply to the upcoming Tupac case? If jurors did the same thing in every instance there, in all these different instances, right? Had the Kohlberger case went to trial and people did the same thing there. That's a serious concern we all should have. Even people who think Karen is innocent should have an issue with what this guy did. Because that has serious ramifications for people going forward thinking it's okay to do that. It's not. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Doesn't matter whether you think she was innocent or whether you think she was guilty. What that juror did was wrong. And it flies in the face of what you're supposed to do as a juror. If you have a preconceived bias that you hate the cops, that is something you need to tell them ahead of time. If you cannot put that aside, right, it's something you need to tell them ahead of time. That way they can pick someone who can put it aside. Lying about it to get on a jury, not a good look, dude. Not a good look. Because if we have that same problem in a multitude of people in the other cases, then what? Right? What if the 8 people for the Corey Richins case all did the same thing in the alternates? Because you got to have alternates, right? I mean, think about the people who didn't get picked in all of these trials. They knew, the jurors knew ahead of time that the case would be 6 to 8 weeks or longer. Not taking notes, having a preconceived bias towards cops, lying about not knowing anything about the case, talking about a coat was the reason why you didn't take any notes, and that's what you found to be suspicious. But the coat thing was in the first trial, so that couldn't have been it. So what did you go into the second trial with? Preconceived notions on social media from the first trial? That's a serious issue. This is why I said in the first trial and the second trial, the jury should have been sequestered in both. And that's the judge's mistake, right? That's the court's mistake, but not just in Massachusetts. How many other juries should have been sequestered, but were not? Social media is a huge problem nowadays when it comes to cases. It can seriously do damage to a case just by loud people saying the same thing over and over, even if it's not true, right? If 50,000 people thought that the taillight was found on top of the snow, they're automatically going to think something's suspicious there. No? Well, 50,000 people only heard that information from one guy, right? And even the people were like, well, I didn't watch the sewer turtle. That's not where I got my information from. Cool. But whoever you did get your information from probably got it from him. So if he was telling people that the taillight was on top of the snow, right? And other people were then repeating that, then what? Right? Then we have to do our job as creators to come back and say, okay, you guys, that was not true, right? That was not true. We found out later on that that was not accurate. And we need to fix those things and more than once. Because if we don't, we are allowing that mistake to perpetuate itself over and over and over, you know? I also think it backfired. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know. That makes no sense. I don't know where she went, but it's weird, you know? I feel like it is another form of cheating. What really concerns me is that it could happen in other trials where we're like, I'm sorry, but my opinion, and again, everybody has their own opinion on each case, and I respect everybody else's opinion, and I love all of you anyway. But my opinion on the Walshe case is, from all of the evidence I've seen thus far, I am leaning towards he's guilty at this point. The Google searches, the pieces of evidence they found, where they found them, the stops he made, what he bought, the surveillance of those stops and what he bought, right? My opinion in the Brian Walshe case is that I think he's guilty, right? Now imagine if we have jurors that are lying to get onto the jury simply because They want to write a book, or they want to do interviews, or they think he's not guilty because they think that Proctor was one of the cops involved, so he's not guilty, right? Do you see what kind of damage that? So letting a crazed lunatic, and again, in my opinion, murderer walk free because you don't like one of the cops that were on it, or some of the things that he said in a separate case, is a fucking mistake. Because when and if you set that murderer free in our state, who else is he going to harm? Right? There were red flags at Brian Walshe a long time ago. His wife disappeared, but they found a hacksaw with blood, right? They found some of her belongings that she supposedly disappeared with, right? Oh, yeah, there's a ton of cases like that with circumstantial evidence. A ton. Simply because they, tried to get rid of all of the evidence, or the criminal did a good job getting rid of some of the things that would never be found. So all there was circumstantial evidence. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. A lot of cases are won based on circumstantial evidence, or lost based on circumstantial evidence. My problem is, if our jury system is going to allow, right, for this kind of crap to happen, we got an issue. We got a serious, serious issue, because we cannot allow our juries to do this. We can't have them lying to get on a jury. We cannot have them citing things from a case that they're saying they never watched to get onto the jury, and having preconceived biases that they know that they have, but are keeping a secret from the people asking the questions. You take an oath when you get in there, when you answer the questions, that you will be you could be charged. They don't usually do it when it comes to a jury, because it would deter people from wanting to be on a jury. But at this point, I think it might be coming. I think it's coming. All right, we got the movement in the Brian Walshe case. What is it for? It's very dark. The movement. Those guys look super happy to be there. Oh, my head. It's like pounding. If while you're waiting, you would like to support the channel, we have a bunch of different ways to do so. We could definitely use you guys' help. We have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, Chime. We have a credit and debit option. You can click on the link that's pinned in the chat, or it's in the description of the video. We have an Amazon wish list. That's in the description of the video. You can do a super chat, or a super sticker, or a super thanks if you're watching it and it's not live anymore. Donations that I do get when I'm not live, I do read when I am live. I don't have any to read from last time. I wasn't here yesterday. I was in bed sick. I'm still sick. So like I said, if you guys are just joining me now, please bear with me. I feel like a bag of smashed ass, like I was hit by a bus. And I'm tired. Sucking it up because I need to. Because this is an important hearing too. This decides whether the case, the trial, goes forward. Again, I worked at Bridgewater for many a moons, and I have never seen someone not eventually be found competent to stand trial. I do not think that being stabbed in jail is going to stop him from having to go forth with his trial at all. I think he'll be found competent. There's not many people that I've ever seen that weren't found competent to stand trial. I know how Bridgewater works. I know what the process is. And I don't really have a doubt that he will be found competent to stand trial. He might have PTSD. He might be nervous. He might have anxiety. He might have panicked. But that could be said for pretty much anybody facing a murder charge or who's been assaulted in a jail. It doesn't stop you from having to stand trial. Hello. You changed your whole name? Your whole name? Are you still being hidden from people? Because I could tell it's you. I have heard of this judge. I've seen this judge a multitude of times. I mean, there's nothing really to say about the judge other than they're fair, kind of no nonsense, but fair. And there are some judges that are more, I know it feels weird, but MBM just kind of gives us the, you know, we know it's you, Maestro. It's okay. I knew right away. Are you still being hidden from people, though, with the new name? I feel like you're being like shadow banned or something. It's weird. It shouldn't happen. Maestro had to change the whole name because I feel like he was being shadow banned from people. He had to have been. My nail broke and now it's like at a point. I don't have the clippers in here with me. Actually, I might have scissors though. My drawer. No. Negative. Ugh.
Tweeting. Is that okay? Tweeting. Sorry. Yes. Are you okay with this? Yeah. But so you want to live tweet to your followers?
Live tweet.
Yes. No video. Yeah, it's not video.
That person wants to live tweet to their followers. Okay, good. Well, we're glad everybody can see you now. Yeah, we have to say unalive sometimes. I mean, sometimes even I slip up, but it's because they'll shadow ban you if you use certain words, which is really obnoxious. So if you ever hear creators say unalive or it's because the word the specific word, which is hard, where true crime creators, it's part of what we're talking about. So you're essentially censoring a word that involves cases we're talking about here. It's kind of crazy and it makes no sense. But again, that's YouTube for you. And in their rules, there's certain rules about what you can't say, like in ads, for instance. So if you swear a lot, your videos will not be able to be monetized. It's a whole rigmarole of nonsensical crap you can do and you can't do. It's like poo-poo if you talk about it. They don't like you like telling people. YouTube doesn't like it when you tell people about their monetization policies, which makes no sense, right? People should know so that our viewers can understand why we do X, Y, and Z, but they specifically tell you like not to talk about it. It's like, well, my viewers need to know. So sorry. I don't care if you want me to talk about it or not. It's something they should know so that they can understand why I am not or I am doing X, Y, or Z. It's weird to ask me to not. Their rules are weird to be a monetized channel. These people are talking about getting their nails done.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going there for a million years.
She's been going there for a million years. Like, lady, do you fail to understand that, like, you're being recorded? I feel like I wish I could say that. My nails need to be done so bad. Yep. I know. It makes no sense. None, Holly. None at all. And also, they'll let channels like Court TV, Law and Crime, you know, bigger content creators do certain things that aren't allowed without doing a goddamn thing. But if it's a small creator, you can lose your channel. It's because they're making more money off of larger creators. That's why. They take a large chunk of anything that comes through YouTube, which is why I encourage people, if they're supporting channels, not just mine, but any other creator you're supporting, to send it most directly to them, whether it's PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Revolut, or a link that they made. It's better than sending it through YouTube because YouTube takes a very large chunk of it and you don't get it for over a month. You know, say for instance, you get a large donation through YouTube or a super chat on November 1st. You're not going to get that money until December 21st. So that's well over a month later. YouTube pays out one time a month. One. And so anything you make between the first and the last day of the month, you will not get until the following month. So for instance, anything I made in October, I will get at the end of November. And anything I make in November, I will not get until the end of December. It's weird like that. People ask all the time, like, how it works, you know? And YouTube does kind of poo-poo on you telling your followers how it works. But if people want to start channels, these are things that they should know ahead of time, you know? Or if they're supporting creators, they deserve to know how it works. I also didn't know until a couple of months back that if you have an iPhone and you donate to someone through your iPhone, that iDevices take a chunk of it. Like, what? So I file taxes with, so it's not technically YouTube, it's technically Google AdSense. Even though it goes through YouTube, it's Google AdSense that pays out all of your YouTube money. So I get tax forms from Google AdSense. And I believe it's a 1099, but it's a 1099 because there's a 1099A through E. It's like a 1099. God, I forget the letter number on it, but it is a 1099. But they take, that's the other thing. They don't give us like a printout of how much they took from each thing. And in my opinion, they should, right? If you're taking 30 to 60% of any given thing, we should get a printed out list of this $100 donation was made and we gave you $70 or we gave you $50. Like, we should get an itemized list of every bit that they took from each donation. And they don't show you that anywhere, you know? Good to know, Holly. Oh, that's kind of cool. Kick. What's Kick? Is that like I don't know if I've heard of Kick. Is that for like more gamers or like how's that work? Is that supposed to be like a Dash, like DoorDash, platform wide? What's Kick? In-game rewards for viewers. So is it like YouTube? Kick? Interesting. Kick.com. I'm looking at it right now to see what is it? Is it for gamers? Is that what it is? Or is it just for anybody? Interesting. That's interesting. Where human creativity breaks free. Permission, full transmission. Live life unfiltered. It's streaming, same as Twitch. Suited to long form streams, kind of like me, yeah. Deliberately different. Ignore expectations. Being unconventional isn't discouraged, it's championed. Interesting. Maybe I'll have to join Kick too.
Yes.
I wonder if I can integrate it onto StreamYard as well. Human generated content. Go live from every angle. Interesting. I can? Oh, I might have to join Kick too. That sounds fun. I did not know this existed. I know there's a newer platform too. Yep, see? See, this is something I'm going to have to look into. What the hell? Oh, see? I'm going to have to do that too. Although, when I click on apply, it brings me to Google. Why? Why are you doing that? Kick partner program with multi-streaming. Stream across multiple platforms while earning 50% of our partner income. Interesting. Stream for meet streaming standard. Oh, so you first have to stream for at least 30 hours and have at least 250 unique chatters in the last 30 days. Have at least 25 active subscribers and at least 250 followers. Maintain an average of 75 concurrent viewers. See, YouTube doesn't have those. Like, you just have to meet a ridiculous amount of hours to be monetized. So it takes a long while to become monetized on YouTube first, but you don't have to maintain an average of certain concurrent viewers because you're on multiple platforms. So different people watch on different platforms. You know, like there's only 44 of you right now on YouTube, but there's 138 on X, and I'm early for what I usually stream later than this. Link relevant social media Kick. It's cool. Gives 95% of all donations to streamer. Yeah, see, that's weird. If you go per hour, you don't get that. I wonder what they pay per hour, though. Is it minimum wage? No. Because it says you'll earn 50% of your usual revenue on Kick if you're multi-streaming. Revenue will be calculated differently when multi-streaming, which may result in a reduction of revenue by 50% compared to revenue generated for streaming exclusively on Kick. It is a racket. They do. What I don't agree with is the amount that they're taking from small creators. Like, it would make sense if you have a certain amount of followers, then you're making a decent amount of money. When you're a smaller channel like me, it makes it almost impossible. What is happening? Maybe. That's a good option, Sam. It is a monopoly. Which they try to avoid, right? Let's see. Hey, good morning. We're supposed to start at 11. It got pushed back, but we're still not seeing anything here. We're just court personnel talking. Hi, Will. You're that bored, bub? You're that bored? Wow. Kind of sad, buddy. Everyone say hi to the liar. He's restreaming us. You could take that strike. I really don't give a shit one way or another. Funny because he could just play this himself like a normal fucking human being. He's so far up Aiden's ass, Aiden can spit him out. How is it up there? How is it up there, Will? You're up Aiden's ass? How is it up there? He says warm, apparently. Sure it is, bud. Sure it is. Yeah. Apparently he's that bored with his life that he can't just stream the hearing himself. Got nothing else to talk about these days, guys. One second. I'm going to use this screen. Because he's got nothing better to do in life. Clearly. Clearly. Wait, can you guys hear them? They're talking about the Karen Reed case. You said remember before the Karen Reed case. If you listen, you can hear them. Oh my God, what the fuck are they doing here? Like, come on already. Can we get a hearing?
No.
The hearing was supposed to be 9:30, right? Then when I was going live about 9:15, I got word that it was going to be 11 o'clock. And here we are, past 11 o'clock. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm sorry you have a headache, girl. I've been sick for 3 days, so believe me, I get it. I'm sorry that you don't feel good. Sometimes when it starts getting cold out, you know, people get sick, whether it's allergies or, you know, some people get like pneumonia once a year, you know, around the wintertime. I have no immune system. So usually if I'm going to get pneumonia, that doesn't happen until like end of November, December. But I avoided it last year. The year before I did not avoid it, and it lasted like 6 weeks. It was horrible. I never wanted to do it again. Definitely lay down if I were you, girl. Just relax, you know? Ibuprofen, something. Maybe shut the lights off, get some lavender. That'll help.
Thank you.
Here we go. Oh, Lisa from Texas. Thanks for that screenshot. Nobody owes 55K in back rent, you fucking idiot. Some of these people really need to help on understanding things. I don't owe a single penny in rent, but okay. Well, sure.
Good morning to the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor. Kelly Porteous on behalf of Mr. Walsh. And good morning to Defense Counsel. We can have Mr. Walsh brought in. Madam Clerk. I won't be needing that for today. I don't want to lose it. Can I see counsel at the side of the bench?
What the hell? Already a sidebar. Cool. And we're looking at the door. I hate that fucking machine. I don't know how you guys who sleep with that machine can sleep with that noise. It would drive me nuts. Wowza. Enough with the fucking noise machine, dude. Can we actually hear the damn hearing? Can we do 72 sidebars on this one too? Salad bar? Play the sidebar. Nope, still sidebar. Still fucking sidebar. I did beat you to it. Ooh, what you getting, Benny?
I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat.
Come on, man. These are long ass fucking sidebars. Can we get a hearing here? Can we get a hearing? That is true, Sam. That is very true. Very, very true, my friend. Oh my God, you guys remember this?
But you're not. So you're not talking, so you can move.
I mean, I just got here, man. I just got into town. I'll keep it moving. Yeah, can you tell me what's going on? Yeah.
So you got a buffer zone. So that's it.
What was that? I don't.
Kidding me right now?
Just keep it moving. I'm recording still.
The cops told the guy to keep it moving. He's like, I just got here, even though he'd been there for like 2 days and had no fucking idea. The cops knew he had been there, and they were like, yeah, no, keep it moving there, bud. His phone went down. I think it played for like another 2 hours or something like that. Literally. Yep. That's right. Oh, cool. They have to hit subscribe and then wait 3 minutes to comment. So good luck to them. That's pretty fucking pathetic if you ask me.
All right. So, welcome, as I said, to council, and welcome to Mr. Walshe. I have a few things on my agenda. The first one, which is over here, is competence. I've now received a report from Bridgewater State Hospital, comprehensive report from Dr. Ryan. In that report, Dr. Ryan concludes that the defendant is competent and
Called it.
ready to stand trial. And with that finding, which I accept, had a brief conversation with the side of the bench. What's the defense's position? I just want it on the record, on the public record, with regard to the defendant's competency.
Two things, Rick. One, we're not contesting the competency of someone. Two, we've had conferences with Dr. Ryan. We had one last night. What he asked us to do, is he is concerned that changing the environment to the jail may have an adverse effect on Mr. Walshe. He wants us to
I can't hear shit either.
As with any case, and any time, in my experience, the defendant goes to Bridgewater and then is returned to the facility, there's always a transition period. He's been there for 40
Correct.
days now and has gotten, as I understand, into a routine. And that routine is going to be changed as he moves back to the House of Correction.
Going to get moved back.
So understandably, there will be some transition period, and you and alerting the facility knows this, they deal with this quite regularly. But I understand your intent to alert me to it, and we'll have some time here, I believe, between the time that we're picking a jury in this case and the time, I'm not suggesting that you're not working at that time, but the defendant's role in that is significantly different than it is when we're actually actively engaged in the trial. So hopefully that'll give them a nice time to settle back into the House of Correction. But obviously, if at any point you become concerned about that, I know you won't hesitate to raise it with me.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. So, let me, and I discussed this with you at this side of the bench as well. I received some edits from the defense to the questionnaire, which I will incorporate into the next version of the draft questionnaire. It's always a draft until the minute that I finalize it and send it to that pool of jurors. Speaking of that pool of jurors, somewhere on my desk, I have the updated numbers.
Wow, you're pretty sad and pathetic, you poor thing.
Who knows what the yield will be, but I expect to take about 70, if I can, 60 to 70 jurors a day. In my experience, it's hard with the questionnaire, even without doing all the copying, to get through more than that number in a day, and there are other cases that are starting on Tuesday. And so if we can accommodate those, we will. We'll have to see what the draw is. The expected number is 105 now for Monday, and we're going to hold those over to Tuesday because, as you know, we're doing the final trial conference on Monday, and then we'll start the impanelment on Tuesday. So it looks like 105, 126, 121, 68 on Thursday, but those people will be pushed and held over till Friday. So we'll have a full group of some number of people to work with in getting a jury next week. And then jurors are here also on Monday and Tuesday of the following week. And I think we're the only game in town. That is, I don't think anybody else is impaneling on Monday and Tuesday. Our intent is, if we get a jury during that allotted time, we will start the trial, the substance of the trial, on 12/1, the Monday after the Thanksgiving holiday. Everybody on board with that schedule? All right, good. Let me next address, and then once I do this, I'll certainly turn it over to you. We're going to have our formal, really today's purpose was to address the competency. But to the extent that I could pick off,
And like I said, he'd be found
issues that
competent.
aren't technically motions in limine, but other important motions to the parties, I focused on those today. And I am prepared now to make a ruling on the change of venue paper. That's paper number 219, and I'm going to read that into the record now. Mr. Walshe has moved for a change of venue on the grounds of extensive and prejudicial pretrial publicity that he asserts has tainted the jury pool so as to deprive him of his right to a fair trial by impartial jury. Alternatively, the defendant seeks an order that prospective jurors be selected from outside of Norfolk County. In support of his motion, the defendant has submitted evidence of extensive national and local media coverage of the case, beginning on January 6, 2023, after Anna Walshe was reported missing, and continuing till the present day, as well as evidence of social media engagement with this case. After careful consideration of the defendant's motion and the exhibits provided to the court, I'm denying the motion and the request for alternate relief for the following reasons.
Interesting.
The court may order a change of venue where there exists, quote, and it exists in the community where there is a prosecution is pending so great a prejudice against the defendant that he may not there obtain a fair and impartial trial. And that cites back to Massachusetts Rule of Criminal Procedure 37 and Commonwealth versus Clark, 432 Mass 1 at 6, a 2000 case. A judge has substantial discretion to transfer a case to another county based on pretrial publicity. And according to Commonwealth versus Gaynor, 443 Mass at 245 at 259, pretrial publicity, even even pervasive adverse publicity does not inevitably lead to an unfair trial. A change in the place of a trial should be ordered with caution and only after the defendant has established, based on a, quote, solid foundation of fact, that the pretrial publicity has created presumptive prejudice. And to that I cite to Commonwealth versus Hart, 493 Mass 130 at 141, and Commonwealth versus Tulin, 460 Mass at 452, at pinpoint site 462, 463, a 2011 case. Presumptive prejudice exists only in truly extraordinary circumstances where the trial atmosphere is utterly corrupted by media coverage. And, quote, the entire venire may be presumed prejudice regardless of specific voir dire procedures utilized. This standard is only met if the publicity is both extensive and sensational. And to that I cite to Commonwealth versus Who's, 467 Mass 395, 406, a 2014 case. In assessing whether pretrial publicity precludes a fair trial, the court should consider additional factors such as, quote, the size of the community, the length of time between the peak media coverage and the date of the
That
trial,
county is huge.
and whether the news stories contained a confession or smoking gun rather than merely being unkind portrayals of the defendant, end quote. Commonwealth versus Garhut Strider, 82 Mass Appellate Court 500, 506, a 2012 case. The defendant here contends that transfer of his case out of Norfolk County for trial is necessary because the nature and extent of the negative pretrial publicity his case has received has encouraged a bias and prejudice against him in this county. Having reviewed the numerous materials submitted in support of the defendant's motion, I conclude that presumptive prejudice has not been shown. Although the media coverage has been extensive and somewhat graphic due to the nature of the crimes charged, it has also been primarily factual, describing the events in question, the charges against the defendant, court proceedings in this case, and the defendant's criminal history. Quote, fact-based publicity, even that which contains references to charges pending against the defendant or a prior criminal record, is not the sort of sensational publicity that would give rise to a presumption of prejudice, end quote. And that's Who's at 467 Mass at 407. The publicity in this case peaked in January 2023 when the defendant was charged in connection with the victim's murder, and has decreased in frequency over time, undermining a presumption of prejudice. Again, Who's at 406 and Tulin at 460 Mass at 465. Notably, nothing in the defendant's submission addresses whether the pretrial publicity has been more extensive in Norfolk County or the likely number of potential jurors who were actually exposed to the media coverage. Moreover, other factors weigh against a finding of presumptive prejudice. The trial is scheduled to take place nearly 3 years after Anna Walshe was presumed dead, and therefore there has been a substantial amount of time between the initial media coverage and the selection of the jury. Indeed, much more of the recent media coverage is focused on court decisions leading up to trial and the status of the case. Further, the defendant has not shown that there has been any report of a confession by him or any like evidence. See Gerhardt's writer, 82 Mass App Court at 506. And unlike other cases where the small size of the community weighed in favor of a finding of presumptive prejudice, for example, in Nantucket County, given the size of Norfolk County, the defendant has not shown a high likelihood that the entire jury pool would be tainted by the pretrial coverage of this case.
Norfolk County's humongous.
To that, the court cites to Commonwealth versus Leahy, 445 Mass, 481 at 493, 494, a 2005 case. Defendant's motion relies heavily on evidence of negative social media posts presuming his guilt. There is, however, no indication that any of the posts were made by or read by Norfolk County residents, and thus they do not present a compelling reason to transfer his case to another county. In sum, while the defendant has demonstrated that the national and local media have extensively covered his case, he has not demonstrated the, quote, type of emotionally charged, inflammatory, sensationalistic coverage needed to support a presumption of prejudice, end quote. United States versus Angulo, 897 F. 2nd, 1169, 1181, a First Circuit case from 1990. Nor has he shown that there exists in this community a prejudice so great that he cannot obtain a fair trial in Norfolk County. Thus, I will not now order a change of venue. Alternately, the defendant has requested that prospective jurors be seated from outside of Norfolk County and transported to Norfolk County Superior Court for trial. Quote, such an order ought not be given lightly. Commonwealth versus Aldopoulos at 390 Mass, 438, 448, 1983. The defendant must, quote unquote, fully establish the reason why a foreign jury is, quote, necessary to further the administration of justice. The defendant's motion falls short here. The defendant has not specified in his motion why he cannot obtain a fair trial with jurors from Norfolk County. He has not, for instance, shown that the media or social media coverage has been more widely viewed by prospective Norfolk County jurors as opposed to residents of other counties. That engagement with social media postings about his case has been higher by residents in this county, or particularized his evidentiary support to the residents of Norfolk County in any way. Merely explaining the widespread coverage of this case in the greater Boston area and providing examples of negative social media posts from unknown users is insufficient to establish the necessity of a foreign jury. Any concerns as to the impartiality of prospective jurors from this county due to pretrial publicity will be addressed by this court with careful and thorough voir dire and is always subject to reconsideration by this court. Accordingly, the defendant's motion for a change of venue or alternate relief is denied without prejudice. The defendant may renew his motion and the court won't hesitate to re-examine its own decision should the impalement of an impartial jury prove impossible as a result of community prejudice. So there's one other matter that I want to address with the lawyers, and that will take place at the side of the bench. But before I do that, are there other matters that it's important for the parties to raise today, recognizing that we are going to have the final trial conference on Monday? Bless you.
One quick one, Your Honor, was I know that Mr. Tipton had a hearing on 12/9, and I didn't know if the court was going to break for that at 2 o'clock.
Oh,
I was going to ask this sidebar to talk about that briefly.
all right.
I apologize. That's good.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, anything from the defense other than what we're going to discuss at the side of the bench?
No, and the only other thing is I just want the record to reflect that we object to the court's ruling and we'll.
Certainly will. I understand. All right, I'll see you at the side of the bench.
Another sidebar, which I'm guessing is going to last a few minutes. I think there's an echo in here, guys. There's an echo. Maybe the glare wants to play patty cake. Gonna play patty cake? Well, I mean, since you're an echo and all.
I think we got a super cat. I think we got a super cat.
That's for that donation that just came in. And also, because I'm not gonna lie, that beat's a little catchy. It's a little catchy. StreamYard has a bunch of like random songs, you know, licensed random beats. They even have a gong now, guys. I give you the echo, the glarer. Hold on. Getting interesting information. Give me a second. That fucking sound machine would drive me bananas. I don't know how some of you sleep with that thing on. Ooh, it works. My American flag. America, bitches. I have something I'm going to share with you guys, but I got to get it to my email first. Always is, Maestro. Always is, my friend. X is a fucking cesspool. So I just check my messages, respond to people, and then jump off. Not worth it. It's just a bunch of people accusing a bunch of people of a bunch of random shit that never happened. I pay no mind to any of it. It's always best to use your own mind and think for yourself, no matter what. People learn the hard way. That's on them. They can't say we didn't tell them, or we didn't warn them. That's on them, no one else. All right, let me see if I can get this up from the email. All right. Save image. All right. So, looks like what we have here is a text message between Meredith and the sewer turtle. Trying to wait for this hearing to be over so I can put it on the screen, because I have this on the screen right now. I mean, I guess I could read it, and then when this, sorry, I'm really itchy, when this is over, show it on the screen. So the text message starts with Meredith, I think, talking to Eden, and she says, okay, so it says, if she's convinced you recorded her, then she's not going to believe you. But it's worth one more try denying it. Doesn't sound like she's bluffing, though, to be honest. This is a little softer, because if she's already definitely not doing the documentary, you need to de-escalate this now. The threat of telling people you recorded her is not good. Best case, it's a terrible look because you've done it before. Worst case, she actually tries to pursue legal action. You don't want it getting ugly like that. In response to that, Aiden sent her a screenshot of what he said to Karen. And this is what he said. Karen, I didn't record you. I don't know who you're talking to or who's telling you this, but you're dead wrong. I was in the car when you called. I have one phone. There was no possible way for me to record you, which, I mean, he has two phones, so that's just, I mean, everyone knows that. I don't even know why you would deny having two phones at this point. But cool. There was no possible way for me to record you. I don't know what drama queen told you that, but whatever third or fourth hand story you're getting is baseless. I'm guilty of venting to people about our conversation. You vented about me to others too. I'm also on bail. I've always had your back with this story and always will. I have a plethora of felony charges I'm still facing, which only exist because I aggressively expose the people who framed you for murder. I still think you should do the doc with us because you're going to get paid for it and you can say whatever you want. The doc is going to happen regardless. It's in your best interest and mine to work together. I wouldn't throw it away over a lie. And then it says, you've been told by drama hungry, and then it cuts off, so I'm guessing the rest of it is drama hungry people, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, well, this denial obviously means nothing because there's a recording, right? Unfortunately, it did happen. And Jesus, today's a day full of just surprises, I guess. I agree with you, Maestro. I don't know. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I mean, she was right though, right? Worst case scenario is, I know, I know. Well, the breaking news, when it does come, which again, I can't tell you when, I can just tell you to keep an eye on the news. That's all I can tell you. But we know that this obviously was a lie, right? That he did record her. I'm just trying to figure out in my head why it just doesn't make sense to me why so many people attempt to help. Like, he did this thing that's not, you know what I mean? Well, she never heard, so as far as I understand, she didn't hear them until they had lunch that day. And then he played them for her, but didn't send them to her. So she never had possession of the recordings. She just heard it. That's my understanding of it. But you denied it, right? And then you denied it to Karen, and then you denied it to the world. And so it's like, he's going to extreme lengths to lie about it, but why? If there was some intent that was, I was just mad, wouldn't be such a big deal, right? Wouldn't be something you needed to hide. The only reason it would be something you need to hide is if you did it with a bad intention, right? And what happens if she does go for charges? What then? If she chooses to pursue charges, which plenty of time to do, then what? What happens then? Who knows? You know? Interesting. Today's just one of those days, guys. It's gonna be an interesting freaking day. What I don't get, I mean, she probably won't, right? That would be my guess, is that she doesn't file against him. But what if she does? What if she chooses to? What if she says, fuck it, the stuff on the recording that makes me look bad, well, I can't be charged with murder again. So, you know, I think the only thing standing in the way of that is conspiracy to commit witness intimidation, possible charges. So I mean, in my opinion, that would be the only reason that you probably wouldn't, is because it would help that investigation, right? That would be sort of incriminating yourself, and it's not smart to incriminate yourself. So I think that's the only reason why. But if her lawyers got some sort of confirmation that that wasn't going to happen, what if she did choose to go forth with criminal charges on it? What happens then? I mean, any new criminal charge revokes your bail. Breaking a civil order turns into a criminal issue, and even interstate, that can revoke your bail. So, I mean, you're playing with fire there. You know? You're playing with fire at that point. I have not been on Twitter today at all, so I have no idea what you're talking about, but guess I'll have to take a look later. I was on Twitter this morning, but I haven't, just to check my messages. I didn't like scroll or look at anything. So I'm sure there's a bunch of crap there. But that's the thing, right? I mean, at least Meredith was right in some of that, where she's like, worst case scenario, best case scenario. Like, admitting that you wiretapped her, probably not a good idea, but at the same time, denying it wasn't a good idea either, if that recording was then going to be put out there. But who, I asked, sent the recording and clips to certain people? Who? Like a fucking owl, who? You know? I say, ask yourself, who would have the most to gain or benefit from that happening? It's a good question to ponder on who would have the most to gain. Kind of like Meredith said, though, he's done it before, and he'll do it again to many, many people. But the intent, it's the intent. It's not whether you did or didn't, it's what you were going to do with it. That's the bigger problem, is what were you gonna do with it, right? Ultimately. I think we all know the answer to that, right? We all know the answer to what the plan would have been to do with the recording to begin with. I mean, why would you be taking low blow shots about someone's loved one that passed away if it didn't bother you that much, right? Taking shots at someone's loved one who passed away, that's beyond gross. It's beyond gross. Everyone has lost someone, I'm sure, or multiple people, at least in my generation, right? Nobody should be okay with that, someone's death, someone that someone cared about, being twisted into, oh, well, maybe you had something to do with it, when clearly that didn't happen. And you know what I mean? Like that right there just goes to show you how much is willing to be twisted for the benefit of a narrative. That's gross. I would never do that. Talking about someone's loved one, not okay. They can't defend themselves. They're not on this earth to defend themselves. It's low. It's way lower than low, in my opinion. I would never do that. It's deplorable. Have a little bit of fucking self-respect. Have some goddamn boundaries on what you will and what you won't do. Jesus, this is the longest fucking sidebar on planet Earth.
What time are we on for Monday? 9 a.m. All right. So Madam Clerk reminds me we're on for 9 a.m. on Monday. If there's anything you need between now and then, you get it to Madam
9
Clerk.
a.m. Monday.
Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you at that time.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Cool.
Stands continued to Monday, November 17th at 9 a.m. Thanks, everyone.
He does not look happy. I told you guys he was going to be found competent. In all the time I worked there, I think there was one person that was found not competent to stand trial, and then it was just a few months later that they were found competent. It almost never happens. It almost never happens. It's very rare that someone is long-term found not competent to stand trial. Using anxiety or panic or being stabbed in jail is just not going to do it. It's just not. She blocked you on Twitter. I think she deactivated Twitter, I think. I'm pretty sure she deactivated, you know? Like I said though, who would benefit the most from sending out the recording? Obviously, Aiden's not going to send the recording out of himself, I don't think. I don't think he'd be that stupid. So that means it was one of a very few people, right? Very few people that knew it existed, knew it was recorded, heard it, or had it, right? And that's a small, very short list of other people who could have possibly sent it around in clips. Because the full length of it is worse. So so here's the thing: the clips that were sent out to me show that the person clipped it specifically so that the worst of the worst was out of it, right? That might have been a little. The pieces that they sent out were like shitty, but not so shitty to sort of overshadow what was said, right? And so they deliberately clipped out certain parts of it and sent those out for public consumption. So that leaves about 4 or 5 people, maybe 6 total, that besides Aiden, who would have sent that out, who would have benefited from it. Or maybe there's a coup happening. I mean, we know he has threatened people. So, I mean, maybe one of those people weren't so happy they were being threatened and said, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I don't know. Some people speculate it was him himself, but I don't think it was him himself that did that. Because then that would prove that it existed and that he did it. So I know that he probably is not the one that would have put it out there. That leaves a very short list of other people who would have put it out there. You know what I mean? Let me see. I think she deactivated as far as I understand. I don't know if she reactivated again, but I think she deactivated. Oh yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can. Hold on. No, that's not it. Hold on a second. Actually, I can do it this way. Upload. Oh, God damn it. All right. Now. This share screen window. So this is the text that I just read to you guys. Just so you guys can see it. Oh, sorry, I was confused. Yeah, Meredith deactivated as far as I understand. But that was a few days ago, so I don't know, what would have happened since then, if she reactivated or not. I don't know. But I mean, how many? Hold on a second, guys. Yeah, so this is the text. I just wanted to throw it up there for you guys. Yeah, I wasn't on X yesterday. I don't blame you guys, right? I've actually heard a lot of people say that. Right, Maestro? I get it. And I don't blame you, Holly. I mean, I feel like life is lighter when you just don't care. You know what I mean? When you just don't give a shit what random people who don't know you say, then life is a lot fucking lighter. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit what these people have to say. They don't know me. They've never met me a day in their lives. And ultimately, when they're lied about and shit happens, they can't say nobody didn't warn them. It's really that simple. And it's not an if, that's a when. Hey, Pepper. I mean, it is, right? Nonetheless, this is the text I was reading to you guys. I just wanted to put it up on the screen for you guys so you could see it, receipts and all. But I mean, hey, at least Meredith was right in some of that, right? Worst case and less case scenario. At the same time, Aiden flat out sends that text message to Karen and denies wiretapping her, which we know is a lie. So, I mean, hey. It is. It's almost like a sport, and it's fucking weird. It's weird. I don't understand it. Never made sense to me. I only have something to say about someone when I am defending myself, and 9 out of 10 times, I honestly just ignore most of the shit because it's not worth it. Oh, boy. Is that what happened, Maestro? Is that why this ended up out? So Maestro said in a convo with Meredith about Karen knowing he is sharing their communications, he again posts a screenshot of their communications. Then Meredith screenshots this and sends it out. Oh boy. The fuckery is next level. Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. You are right about that, my friend. You are right. I'm just like, is this real life? Sometimes it feels like we're in an alternate universe, right? And here's the saddest part. If you guys even knew the people that have behind the scenes privately apologize to me and talk periodically to me, you would be like, wow, because behind closed doors, there's a lot of people that are not down with said fuckery. They're not. And they just don't say anything publicly. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's unfortunate because civil conversations can actually make a difference, right? And having civil conversations with people actually bring people to some common ground, even if they have things that they don't agree on, right? And the people that I have found common ground with, we may not agree when it comes to Karen Reed's case, but we agree on a lot of other things, right? A lot of everyday things. And even your friends and loved ones, I'm sure you don't agree with them on everything, right? I'm sure you don't agree with them on all of their political or every case you've ever heard of. You know, you're going to disagree. The weird part about all of it is that it's become some sort of normal thing to trash people for no real reason other than the sewer turtle said so, apparently, or because you corrected a lie that he told. And it's like, well, when he starts telling them about you, who do you think you'll be looking to help you? Someone. Might not be me, but it's going to be someone. And you're going to be like, well, that's a fucking lie. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But you know what I mean? We tried to warn you. And I find it funny because all of the same people that engage in that kind of behavior, in order to engage in that kind of behavior all the time like that, you have to be very insecure with yourself, very bothered as a person, right? It's Psych 101. It says more about you than it does the people that you're continuing to insult or make fun of or harass. It says more about you than it does them. You know, the people who are unbothered like me, who are just like, you can say whatever the fuck you want. The people who know me, know what kind of person that I am. And it's funny because many of those people now include a lot of people who are or were free Karen Reed people, right? And some of you would be shocked to realize how many of these people have apologized to me personally. It's unfortunate because it's missed sort of connections, missed friendships, missed, civil conversations. Things change and things happen when people come together from opposing sides, right? When they come together to sort of figure things out or change things, that's when change happens. It doesn't happen by sitting there and doing somebody else's dirty work constantly just because you blindly believe them. And the people who blindly have believed people thus far, well, my inbox speaks for itself, right? Didn't work out so well in that direction, did it? You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. And it's really sad. Ooh, send it to me, Holly. I'd love to have it. It's unfortunate and it is sad. So if you guys want to check it out yourself, this, and you are on X, Chris, the koala, had it. And I think Kate posted it from Chris's thing. So I think you can go and look at it there as well. I'm going to take it off the screen now, but you can look at it there as well if you want. But I just wanted to pop it up there and not just read it. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that sort of realized in all of this that like, hey, hold on, something is not right and something doesn't feel right, right? Their gut was like, hold on, I don't like this. This is not making me feel like good, And so they decided, hold on a second, I'm going to go back and look at my own actions and the things that I have said, right? Because everything doesn't have to be shared on air. And I feel like that's the point. A lot of you I speak to daily, including Wallflower. Like I speak to a lot of people daily, right? Yeah, I mean, she was threatened too. So, I mean, what way to defend yourself other than to show the lie is happening? I get it. At the same time, she's also had her hands in a lot of really shady, fucked up shit too. I appreciate you, Wallflower. I appreciate you. But that's the thing. If you're looking for that admiration from a bunch of people you don't know, you don't need it, right? Yes, perfect, Holly. We do. I will see what I can do about that. If you can point me in the right direction, I'm sure I can have somebody pick it up for me. Hey, Sarah. No worries, my friend. That is okay. It's unfortunate, you know? It's unfortunate. There are a lot of people that I feel like might have been friends or might have had common ground on other things and could have supported each other or helped each other in other endeavors to help the community in which they live or surrounding communities in which they live, to do, long-term work to change how our legal system works or victims' rights or even small things, right? And instead, because of a man online, they trashed each other into oblivion. The fun part about it is people figured it out. People figured it out. Lots of people figured it out. And people are still figuring it out. And they're starting to realize, like, that's not what they're about. It's not what they want. They don't want to be these people that are just trashing people they don't know. And that every person on planet Earth has a goddamn skeleton in their closet or something that they're not proud of that they've said or done. Everyone, and I don't care who you are, everyone has something they're not proud of, something they've said or done. I mean, we were all young once, right? We were all young once. We definitely have all made mistakes in life. Does that make you some sort of boogeyman now? I don't think so. I do not think so. And that's, I think, part of why people started figuring out that they could actually speak to one another, right? They didn't need permission from a sewer turtle. They didn't need permission from the sewer squad. They could just reach out on their own. And they did. They did reach out on their own and they did talk to each other, right? It's sad because there's a lot of shit happening behind closed doors. A lot of shit that's always being talked. And some of the people who are the most stark defenders of the sewer turtle have no idea how much shit he talks about them. None. But they will eventually, right? Like Jess just said, hurt people will hurt people. It's bound to happen at this point, right? It just is. And it's sad. If you need that to feel want and needed, that's really sad, right? Yeah, Maestro had to change his name. He was getting like shadow banned because he had the word, the M word in his name. But we're glad Jesse, could you see him now? He's being shadow banned, so we had to change his name. So if you can see him now, we're in the clear. No more shadow banning. Murdered who? You guys have to see that stand-up comedy thing. It's hilarious. I think I knew right away because MBM was on the icon, so I knew right away it was Maestro. I had. Oh, Will, you didn't want to hear this part. He didn't want to hear this part, guys. He didn't want to hear that part. Apparently, he didn't want to have his viewers hear what I have to say when it comes to not being a shitbag. He didn't like that. I mean, here's the thing. Maybe some of his viewers will realize, right? Is it worth it to keep harassing people or insulting people that you don't even know because the Glarer or the Sewer Turtle or Jess Machado told you to? And by the way, Jess Machado picked on our Carol. Carol gave it right back to her. Right back to her. Good for you, Carol. Totally rent-free all the time. I mean, how pathetic do you have to be, right? As a almost 50,000 subscriber channel, that the only thing that you have to do is restream a woman with less than 3,000 subscribers. I mean, what does that tell you? Come on. But our good Carol gave it right back to Jess Machado, who wanted to have beef with Carol. And Carol gave it right back to her. And all Carol did was really just say some truth that she didn't like. It is what it is. You know? Yeah. DFWC. Don't fuck with Carol. You know? I mean, punching down is not only bully behavior, but at the same time, where it's like, if these people start to realize, in which I will say plenty of people have realized, stepping out from it, like, holy shit, you're on the outside of it now. You stepped, whether they took a break from X, and a lot of people, it was they took a break from social media and they came back and they were like, what was I doing? What is wrong with me? And they started to realize that the entire thing was just constantly defending the sewer squad and loyalty to the sewer squad. For what? For what? It brings negative energy into their lives. It drains you emotionally and mentally, right? For what, though? For a man that keeps committing crimes and breaking orders and his minions that he makes fun of on his own privately? Even the creators that defend him, he talks shit about. That's sad, right? He has no loyalty to anyone but himself. And these creators that eventually, one by one, he will trash publicly eventually, they will have nobody to blame but themselves. Because we have tried to defend them. Like, we have tried to tell them who they're dealing with. They want to keep blindly supporting someone who trashes them behind closed doors. That's on them. But what they don't get to do is they don't get to take people's energy, and they don't get to try to get people to blindly believe bullshit, to harass and insult other people because they want some sort of internet clout. That's other people's sanity, other people's mental health, other people's good energy, other people's lives that you're affecting. And it's like a fucking zombie infection, right? That hate just spreads like a goddamn infection and gets into everything good and tries to kill it, right? That's not normal. And it shouldn't be normal. And for me, a lot of people realize what's going on and they stop. There's a lot of people that recently stopped supporting the sewer turtle and the sewer squad. If you hadn't noticed, it's ongoing right now. You know what I mean? You are 100% right, Sam. They're realizing who they've been supporting, and they're making different choices now about who they support and why. You know? You go, Carol. It's been great seeing you, Holly. Get some rest, my friend. I love me a biker. I love riding my bike. My motorcycle helmet's back there. I moved it when I was moving stuff in, seasonal stuff in and out of my storage unit, and came across my helmet, and I was like, if I had a bike right now, that is where I would be. There's my helmet, and I have these beautiful riding gloves. That wind in your face, it's an amazing feeling being on a motorcycle and just riding for hours, you know? I mean, why would you want to live argue with a viewer? That's weird. I mean, that's weird fucking energy. If you ask me, that's just fucking strange. You know what I mean? That's really fucking strange. I don't get it. All right. So we went through the hearing. He's competent, as I said would happen. Again, I worked at Bridgewater. I know how it works. I knew that he would be found competent to stand trial. That was no surprise to me at all. As I said before, Brian Walshe came in. I think we have Monday. Sounds like Monday. Yeah, Monday they'll be back. And so obviously we will be back. Today's Friday. So I see you guys Sunday anyway. But I am still sick, and I do feel like I got hit by a bus. So I love y'all, but I've been on for 3 hours now, and I'm going to go rest up a little. I love your stinking faces. I'll see you guys on Sunday morning. Come ready with your coffee or your tea or whatever. I love y'all. If you'd like to donate to the channel, there's a bunch of different ways you can do so. We're asking if you can support, please support. It's been a really hard 2 weeks for the show at the worst time possible. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut, debit credit link. We have an Amazon wish list, super chat, super stickers. And if you're on the restream and it comes in after that, you can also remain anonymous. We don't have to say who it was. We know that too many people get, harassed by the mob. And so oftentimes people will just remain anonymous and I just don't read the name. I love your stinking faces and I will see you guys Sunday. And hopefully I'm better and not worse. Love you guys. See you later.